going to walk through a few of the interactive possibilities of one of the Tableau visualizations I've generated, Anti-Gentrification Tweets 2016 to 2018. This line chart is just one of the viz types available with Tableau, and many of them have similar interactive possibilities. This particular view shows what the visualization would look like if I had made it public. I've chosen not to make it public so that I'm not breaking Twitter's API rules, and I also want to protect users' privacy by not allowing the full data set with personal identifiers to be publicly viewed and downloaded. Secondly, I've made these visualizations to advance my research focus and help me sort through the data. So rather than having a public audience, these visualizations have been created really only for my own use. To illustrate how I've used them, I'll briefly demonstrate some of the functionality. First, I'll take you to the dashboard view by clicking on Edit. I've already loaded the Twitter data by connecting Tableau to the database version of my data, which is structured for the most part by mirroring Twitter's categories. Tableau automatically interprets the data as either a dimension or a measure, and you can change those if you need to. For this web text, I'm going to focus the walkthrough on the aspect of Tableau's functionality that allows you to explore the granular data underneath the lines and points, and therefore I'd argue offers us opportunities for critical and inventive exploration of the data. This line chart clearly orients our attention to data peaks, which display frequent activity related to a particular time period. In this chart, that time period right now is organized by week. Rolling the cursor over any point on these lines, Tableau will display the tweet type and the unit of time that I've chosen, and then the number of tweets during that time. I can specify another unit of time, which will change the shape of the chart and how the data is organized. For instance, I'm using the weekly time unit now, and we can see at this highest peak, it's the week of August 20th, and that there are approximately 96,000 tweets in this peak. If I change the unit of time today, we can see that the real peak of activity is more accurately on August 25th with 65,059 tweets on that day. However, the weekly one is somewhat more usable in terms of clicking on items and points. So I'm going to go back to that. Clicking on any point, a peak, or down here in the original tweet, either not a peak or a peak, you can choose to click this View Data icon, and a pop-up will show two tabs. The Summary, which basically gives us the same info as the chart box, but allows for the option to download all the rows associated with this point in the chart, or we can click Full Data and view the first 200 rows of that data and see the tweets associated with it, as well as some other information by clicking on Show All Columns. However, I'm not going to do that in this walkthrough, just to protect users' privacy. For the purposes of this walkthrough, I already downloaded some of the data and edited it to get rid of personal identifiers, just to show what kind of data is possible beneath these tweet peaks. So I've made the actual retweet field small so you can't see the personal identifiers. But just to give you an example of the other kinds of location information and the fact that we could scroll through all of these retweets and see the underlying data, some of which will correspond to my most frequently occurring tweet in the data set, the Swift formation meme, but there are also many other retweets in this tweet peak as well as in other points of the graph. So looking at the underlying data allows you to reorganize that data and explore it and arrange it in different ways. If we look at some of the data from an original tweet peak, which is much more likely where we might find activist tweets since they're not retweeted to the extent that pop culture related tweets might be. We get far fewer tweets, but perhaps more with firsthand experience by ordinary people about gentrification going on in their neighborhoods, as well as some location information if they've included it, and various other kinds of information related to friends and followers and attached media. Even though Tableau orients you to the retweet peaks, it's possible to click anywhere on the lines and explore underlying data on less active retweet times, or, as these lines show down here, the other tweet types, original tweets or @mentions. Since activists aren't likely to be retweeted to the extent that pop culture will be, it's more likely that activist tweets would be located in the original tweet or mentioned tweets, or at some of the less frequent points in the graph. I hope this video walkthrough has demonstrated the interactive possibilities of working with Twitter data through Tableau visualization, and how we might push against the visual perspective that privileges frequently occurring data by choosing to explore less frequently occurring data and locate the encounters and voices that might otherwise go missing in our research. Jean Burgess and Axel Bruns have a great 3-week-long free course on Twitter analytics, and that course explains and walks you through how to create many of the graphs and charts I've used in my research, and I cite this course in the references if you'd like to find it. To learn more about how to work with Tableau, you can also visit the Tableau public website and click on resources to find a whole bunch of tutorials.